Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves...
Is the WNBA about to commit the biggest financial suicide in the history of modern sports? It sounds like hyperbole, but when you look at the numbers, the egos, and the money sitting on the table, it feels like we are watching a slow-motion car crash. We are witnessing the single most marketable female athlete on the planet, someone who transformed college basketball into a primetime spectacle, being treated like a burden by the very league she is saving. But the days of Caitlin Clark accepting the disrespect for the sake of growing the game might be officially over. A new player has entered the arena, and they aren't offering charter flights or a pat on the back. They are offering generational wealth that makes the WNBA salary cap look like a rounding error. And now, the loudest voice in sports media, Stephen A. Smith, has seemingly confirmed what we've all been speculating. The exit strategy is real, the money is foreign, and the fallout is going to be catastrophic. Let's start with the number that broke the internet: $76,000. That is the base salary for the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. To put that into perspective, the NBA mascot for the Denver Nuggets makes roughly $600,000 a year. The guy in the fluffy suit shooting t-shirt cannons is making nearly 10 times what Caitlin Clark is paid to be the face of women's basketball. When that figure went public, it didn't just cause outrage, it exposed a broken system. Fans were shocked, but business analysts were confused. How can a player who drives millions of dollars in ticket sales, merchandise, and TV ad revenue be capped at a salary that wouldn't even qualify for a mortgage in some of the cities she plays in? It's not just a bad contract. It's a level of disrespect that feels intentional. Enter Stephen A. Smith. Love him or hate him, Stephen A. has his finger on the pulse of the industry, and he's been screaming from the mountaintops that the WNBA is fumbling the bag. He's been the one pointing out the absurdity of the jealousy and gatekeeping directed at Clark. But his recent commentary has shifted from criticism to a warning. He isn't just saying the WNBA is messing up, he's implying that the clock has run out. When he talks about the market for Caitlin Clark, he's no longer talking about Indiana Fever jerseys. He's talking about global disruptors. He's acknowledging that there are entities outside of the United States, specifically in the Middle East, who view sports not just as a game, but as a way to buy influence and credibility. And they have unlimited pockets, so we have to look at the precedent here, because this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a business model we've already seen work. Look at LIV Golf. The Saudi Public Investment Fund decided they wanted a piece of the PGA Tour's action. When the PGA said no, the Saudis didn't argue. They just bought the players. They offered Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson checks so large that turning them down would have been financial malpractice. They disrupted a legacy league overnight by realizing that money talks and tradition walks. Stephen A. Smith knows this. He saw it happen in golf. He's seeing it happen in boxing. And now he's confirming that women's basketball is the next target. Why wouldn't it be? For the price of one mid-tier NBA bench player, a Saudi league could buy the entire WNBA All-Star roster. But for Caitlin Clark to actually leave the WNBA, to pack her bags and take a $1 million or even $5 million deal to play in a Saudi exhibition league, there has to be a push. No one leaves a legacy league just for money, if they are happy. And this is where the story gets dark. The push isn't coming from her bank account. It's coming from the locker rooms and the hardwood of the WNBA itself. Since the moment she was drafted, the energy directed at her hasn't been, "Welcome to the league." It's been, "Wait until we get our hands on you." We've seen the hard fouls. We've seen the cheap shots that have nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with sending a message. Take the Kennedy Carter incident, a blindside hip check on an inbounds play that had zero basketball merit. It was a physical assault labeled as a basketball play. And what was the reaction from the league's veterans? It wasn't condemnation. In many corners, it was applause. It was a welcome to the pros moment. But Stephen A. Smith rightly pointed out that this isn't how you treat the golden goose. You don't haze the person who is paying for the charter flights. You don't physically target the player who is the reason people are finally turning on the TV. This hostility creates the perfect storm. If you are Caitlin Clark and you are getting beaten up every night for a five-figure salary while veterans resent your fame, why would you stay? The jealousy narrative is something many in the media try to dance around, but it is the elephant in the room. You have legends of the game, players who have grinded for decades for little recognition, watching a 22-year-old come in and land a Nike signature shoe deal before playing a single professional minute. Is it fair? Maybe not. Is it reality? Absolutely. Instead of riding her coattails to higher salaries for everyone, there seems to be a collective decision by the old guard to humble her. Diana Taurasi warned that reality is coming. Well, the reality is that Caitlin Clark is an economy unto herself, and if the environment inside the WNBA remains toxic, she has no obligation to endure it. This is the wedge Saudi investors are looking for. They don't just offer money. They offer respect. Let's go back to the confirmation aspect. When Stephen A. Smith discusses these overseas opportunities, he's validating the rumors agents have been whispering about for months. We know that Ice Cube's Big 3 League already put a verified $5 million offer on the table. That was the first domino. It proved the market value was real. The WNBA tried to spin that narrative, downplaying it, but the seed was planted. Clark turned it down to focus on her rookie season, to try to do things the right way. But now that we're halfway through that season, and she's felt the physical toll and seen the lack of protection from the league, that $5 million or even a $10 million Saudi offer starts looking very different. The Saudi strategy in sports is very specific. They don't want to build from the ground up. They want to buy the finished product. They want the headlines. Imagine a Riyadh All-Star exhibition series. They don't need a full league. They just need Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and maybe a few other stars. They play 10 games, get treated like queens, make $5 million each and go home. No travel chaos. No commercial flights. No veterans trying to take their heads off. Stephen A. Smith realizes this model would devastate the WNBA. If Clark leaves, the TV deal collapses. Attendance drops. Casual fans tune out. The leverage is entirely in her hands. It's important to understand why the salary cap is so low in the first place, because WNBA defenders always point to revenue sharing. They argue that players are paid a percentage of league revenue, and since the league isn't profitable, salaries remain low. That's the corporate answer. The reality is that the WNBA has been subsidized by the NBA for nearly 30 years. It has effectively been a charity project for NBA owners. Caitlin Clark represents the first legitimate chance the league has ever had to become independently profitable. She is the bridge to solvency, and instead of reinforcing that bridge, the league is allowing it to burn. This incompetence is what makes the Saudi rumors so credible. In business, if you undervalue an asset, a competitor will buy it. It's that simple. Now, let's talk about what a Saudi deal would actually look like. Reports and speculation suggest it wouldn't be a traditional season. It would likely be a tournament-style or Super League concept, similar to what was proposed in European soccer. Short duration, high impact, massive payout. For Clark, this solves every problem. She gets the financial security she deserves immediately. She escapes the toxicity of WNBA jealousy. She expands her brand globally. And perhaps most importantly, she sends a message to the American sports establishment. Value your women, or lose them. Stephen A. Smith has also highlighted the hypocrisy in the